Welcome to TIFA Letters, the Filipino American History Month edition by the Filipino American Women Project. I'm your host, Jen Amos. Just like our summer series, I will read fictionalized letters, my creative interpretation of real conversations with you. These letters have been woven with heart, reflection, and truth to honor your stories while protecting your privacy. It all begins with one line. If I could say one thing, because sometimes one thing is all we need to take up a little more space. Let's get started. To my fellow listeners, if I could say one thing, it's this. Our stories are more than enough. Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa, and maybe you can relate to my story. I've been a longtime listener of the TIFA Project, but first time contributing and letting content creators that I love, like Jen, know that I exist. In her last episode about the opening letter of Filipino American History Month, she asked all of us, who's leaving you leftovers? And yes, it was about who are our loved ones that leave us leftovers when we come home late for dinner. But I also understood it as a metaphor for who are the movers and shakers of the Filipino community today that are within my reach that I may have taken for granted. And as a longtime listener of the show, I didn't realize how comfortable I've grown listening to Jen and listening to all the other Filipino American women and guests who have shared their story. To be honest, I felt like experiencing, hearing, internalizing your stories was more than enough for me. Listening to the show has been overwhelmingly transformative, insightful, and reassuring. But I never thought to think that you needed to hear back from me. I never thought to think that it would mean something to you, the storyteller, and to content creators like Jen, that actually hearing from me would make a difference. I never thought that making myself visible would mean so much, because I just only imagine that I'm in the sea of hundreds of other listeners listening to the show, experiencing the show, growing with the show. Honestly, that last letter felt like it was talking directly to me. And to be honest, it was scary. I almost felt naked and exposed and a little embarrassed. It's like sitting in a large audience and the one person speaking on stage all of a sudden is talking to me directly. And that's what that last episode felt like. Wait, you're talking to me? Not the person next to me or behind me or maybe even someone that's not in the room. You're talking to me? You have to understand how unnerving it is to be put in the spotlight. And I'm not necessarily saying that I don't prefer it, but I guess I just never thought it would matter. I never thought that I would have anything important enough to share that would be worth something to someone. Hey, I'm just a regular listener, okay? I don't have any credentials to my name to speak about anything Filipino American history or culture or identity. I'm not a famous person. I'm not an influencer. And I'm not even trying to be. I'm just a regular working professional, clocking in my 9 to 5 so that I can help provide for my family. Speaking of which, I'm very close to my family in a sense that we all look out for each other. We are each other's confidant, resources, connections, support. But now that I think about it, we're not really a family that talked about our history. I think that my parents, well, I can only just imagine the challenges my parents had to go through immigrating from the Philippines to start a whole new life here. And in watching their kids like me become working adults, I think that was enough for them. But along the way, I guess I never really thought to ask my parents about our family history. Hard work and providing for one another was the number one priority. It wasn't what was said in our family. It was about what was done for our family that mattered. Normally, when I drive to work, I listen to my favorite podcast shows like The Tifa Project. In fact, it's one of the things I enjoy about commuting, even when I get stuck in traffic. It's the one time in the day where I'm by myself. I'm not in a household with family and extended family. I'm not at work being around people all day. In my car, in the driver's seat, it's the one time I get to be by myself and yet listen to someone, enjoy a podcast without having to engage, without having to participate, just experience. It's like sitting in the kitchen, eavesdropping on my cousins, catching up on the latest gossip in the living room. On my commute to work, it's the special time of day where I feel in control of my time, my thoughts, my relationships. But that's when it hit me. I had a flashback as I was driving to work. I don't remember exactly when it happened. It had to be 20 years ago, maybe even more than that. But it was a time when I couldn't drive my own car, when I was young and I was dependent on family to drive me everywhere. It was common for my parents to drop me off at my relatives to babysit us while they went to work or ran errands. My older cousins, Kuya J and Ate Faye, yeah, their names rhymed. They were old enough to drive us around. And I always loved it when Ate Faye would drive us. With her, I didn't question whether or not I could speak my mind. I just did. But Kuya J, that was another story. I never knew what to expect from him when we carpooled. I'll never forget that one trip. Kuya J was driving and Ate Faye was in the passenger seat. And I was sitting in the very back of the van while my siblings were sitting in the middle. My siblings and I were having a great time, laughing, talking, when all of a sudden, Kuya J just says to me, "Lissa, shut up." At first, I thought he was joking. And with the sense of security with Ate Faye in the passenger seat, I giggled. Maybe nervously, but I did. And I continued talking to my siblings. "Lissa, shut up." There I knew he wasn't joking. I looked up with shock in my eyes. I looked at the rearview mirror, and my Kuya J kept his eyes on the road. I guess rightfully so. He was driving after all. But I was in shock. The van all of a sudden got quiet. So Ate Faye turned up the radio. I didn't know what to do in that moment. I was frozen. In fact, I noticed that I started to tremble. I was afraid. I was afraid of what would come out of me. So I laid down the back and I just started crying. It all felt like a blur. What did I say to be told to shut up? I wasn't even talking to him. And he's my older cousin and he's driving and I have to respect him. I must have done something wrong. So I remained down there crying quietly because I just wasn't sure if he was going to tell me to shut up again. The radio was up high and everyone was quietly acting as though my kuya never told me to shut up. And my Ate Faye, the one that made me feel safe, the one that I felt that I could open up to, she just sat there silently. I felt completely abandoned in that moment. But it also felt completely wrong of me to just lay down there and cry. So, like everyone else in the car, I collected myself as best as I could in the back seat, and I eventually sat up again. My brother started talking again. I always felt like my brother and Kuya J had a pretty good bond, and Ate Faye started talking as well. So I thought, okay, everyone's talking again, and my brother had said something that I wanted to respond to. So I did. Instantly, I could see from the back seat Kuya Jay clenching his fist on the driver's wheel. In the rearview mirror, I saw his brows come together, and like the sound of loud thunder clapping in the sky, he yelled, "Shut up! Shut up, Lissa! Would you just shut up?" My whole body shook in fear and terror and in shock. I did the only thing I knew I could. I laid down in the back seat and I cried. Again, and for much longer. If there was any time in my family that I knew that what you do is more important than what you say, it was that moment. In that moment, I learned to stay quiet. And if I spoke, my words had to be calculated. Years passed, and that moment reflected in many other aspects of my life. I only spoke when spoken to. I worked, I provided for my family, and most of all, I never spoke freely. I snapped back to the present when I realized there was a car honking behind me. I had stopped at a red light, but by the time I noticed, it was already green. I raised my hand so that the driver behind me can see that I acknowledge his honking. And then I put my foot on the gas and I continued my commute to work. I have to admit, it's been a while since I thought of that time. Thought about my cousin Jay and his relentless, unpredictable bullying. My Ate Faye, who would just sit there in silence, and my siblings following suit. But as I continue my drive with my hands on the wheel and my foot on the gas, following traffic flow, I realize in that moment that I'm not there anymore. I'm not in the back seat anymore. My cousin isn't driving me anymore. I am the driver now. I dictate where I go. I dictate what I do, and dare I say, I dictate what I can say. To be honest, it's been a courageous act for me to listen to a show like the Tifa Project, because I get to hear stories that I can relate to, that no one in my family would ever speak out loud. But now, in this very moment, I'm also realizing that it's even more courageous to share my story too. And maybe that's more than enough. I don't know if my story will mean anything to anyone. But now that I shared it out loud, it means everything to me. So, if I could say one thing to my fellow listeners, it's this. No one's going to tell you to shut up anymore. You are the driver now, and your story matters. Love, Lissa. If you could reflect on one thing, it's this. Who's driving your story today? Want to respond? You can reply today at tifaletters.com. That's TFAW as in the Filipino American woman, letters as in plural.com, tifaletters.com. Or better yet, write your own letter. Submissions are now open. You can include your name or stay completely anonymous. So, if you could say one thing, what would it be? Subscribe for free today at tifaletters.com and follow the steps in the welcome email to submit your letter. I hope to read yours in the upcoming season. P.S. If I could say one more thing, it's this. Let's uncover Filipino American history together. For the month of October, you can upgrade to TIFA Pen Pals to participate in our 30-day challenge to collect and share resources with our online community. Simply check out the latest email from Tifa Letters to upgrade now or subscribe today at tifaletters.com. Happy Filipino American History Month, and we'll see you on the inside.